Hello AOS fans, it's me, Pete. I'm coming to you today to give you my Skaven deck list. Now this is an odd one because I gave you the Sepulchral Guard deck list earlier in the week, and we're going to be fighting a game on Friday, or at least the game will be coming out on Friday, and I have done both of the decks. One is my Sepulchral Guard, as I've said, which I will possibly take to the Grand Clash, and this is the Skaven deck I've come up with, first one, so you'll have to forgive me for any dodgy picks here. And I might take this to the Grand Clash. Not 100% sure yet. I've always liked Skaven, and I like Sepulchral Guard. I've always liked Undead as well, so it's a real tricky pick for me. But anyway, I'm going to go through this now, and what I'm trying to get with this deck is use the Skaven's inherent speed to try and outmaneuver my opponent, take people down as and when I want with targeted attacks, and generally try and keep a distance whenever possible, but I'm not going for many objectives. So here's my deck. I'll start with the objectives, and the first one is Arm's Length. I score this immediately if my warband takes an enemy fighter out of action while they're adjacent to none of my fighters. It's score immediately, which I like, and it's one that I need to use ranged weapons with. Now, Skritch is the only one with a ranged weapon with the starting stats, but I am going to be taking some other stuff to hopefully help me with that, which I'll come on to in a little while. My next ability is Leading from the Back. So I score this one in an end phase if Skritch is in my territory and is not adjacent to any enemies. With his speed, that should be fairly doable, I'd hope. We'll see. The next one is Skritch is the Greatest. I score immediately, again another score immediately, which I like, if my leader takes out an enemy fighter out of action. So hopefully I can get this at the same time as Arm's Length. Next one is Cover Ground. You got to move 6 hexes, and that's it. And again, it's another score immediately. You can score this just by moving 6. All this game have a base move of 5, so if I get them +1 movement, that's pretty much in the bag. It's a score immediately, which means I can get it mid-turn just by moving, which is very nice. And I could also get this as part of a charge, because the first thing you do in a charge is you move. The other good thing about this is, obviously, if I've got Sprint, which I have in my deck, or the Skaven equivalent, I can use that to also get this card. Next one I've picked is Determined Defender. Now this is the one I'm not 100% sure on at the moment, because it would force me to leave a Skaven sitting in its place. Now that wouldn't be too hard to achieve, but I've only got 5 guys. I don't know, I'm not 100% sold on this one as yet. I might swap it out for something else. I could do better if I just get one of the Hold Objective X cards, and I've got the range to be able to pretty much get anywhere on the board to claim any of the objectives. And I'd score that immediately. Determined Defender, I've got to sit on it for 2 turns, so that does limit my ability to score it, so I may swap that one out for one of the Hold Objective X cards instead. The next one is Escalation. I score this in an end phase if I have 3 or more upgrades played in the preceding action phase. Now I don't have to play them all, I don't have to play any of them, just 3 have to be played. It's 2 glory. For that reason it's a brilliant card in my books. That's why I'm taking it. If my opponent's doing well, it'll help me out. If I'm doing well, it'll still help me out, so either way it's a win-win. Next one is Superior Tactician. This is a 3rd end phase card. It is 3 glory, and that's why I've got it in there. I score it if I've scored 6 of my other objective cards. Now I'm hopefully having enough in here that I should be able to reach 6. That's 2 a phase. If I can manage that, I've got a few instant scores as well. That should hopefully help me get Superior Tactician. Next one is Master of War. Scores in an end phase if I score an objective card, play a ploy, and play an upgrade in this round. Now, as I've already said, I've got a few instant wins there, so hopefully that'll help me get Master of War. Next one is Ploy Master. Score them in the end phase if I play 3 or more ploys. Well, playing ploys is pretty easy. Saying it's not so easy, but hopefully I should either be able to get that one or Escalation at some point, maybe even both. Depends on what I get and what I draw out, but that one should be fairly easy for me to score, and something my opponent's not going to be able to easily stop. And Supremacy. This one's a given for Skaven. I think their speed means I can grab 3 objectives fairly easily. Hopefully I'll get this in the early round. It's 3 glory. That'll help give me plenty of time to boost up my Skavenies and start going around stabbering people. And Divide and Conquer, my last card. I scored this one in an end phase if each player has at least 1 fighter in their own territory and 1 fighter in the enemy territory. I've got the speed to achieve that. My opponent's almost always going to be coming after me or coming after an objective in my zone. I will struggle to get that against tanking Stormcast. I'll probably just discard it in that situation. did think about taking Make a Statement, which is capture all the objectives in your opponent's territory, at least one. But at the same time, it's if my opponent's going for objectives, that could be incredibly hard to achieve. It's 3 glory, that would be very nice, but I'm just not really that sure it's going to be that easy to achieve, and that's why I've skipped on that one. So to get those objectives, I'm going to have a number of ploys at my disposal, and these are what I'm going to take. I am going for a 22 card deck, and you'll find out why as we go into it. So the first card I've decided to take is Frenzied Stabbing, +1 damage on the first attack in the next activation. That'll be handy if I want to boost up Skritch to take somebody out, to get some of those instant score cards. Next one is Musk of Fear, choose a friendly fighter and put them on guard. I'd almost definitely put that on Skritch, depending on what other defences he's got in place, but I might also use it on one of my Skaven if they are currently sitting on an objective that I want to hold, or if one of my guys is looking particularly vulnerable. Next one is Sudden Skittering, which is basically the Skaven version of Sprint. I've taken that one obviously to help me get the cover ground objective, but also because it means one of my Skaven can then move 10 hexes, which is mental. They'll be able to move nearly anywhere. Obviously they can't attack at the end of that. They can't be activated to get in that phase, but it's one to really sprint them across the board. The next one is There Are Always More. Means I can resurrect one of my Skaven, remove all the wound tokens, and then place them on any starting hex. Just like the normal activity that Skritch has. Obviously it doesn't work on Skritch or Kirk, but that one will be handy to bring somebody back when I really, really need to. Next one is Confusion. This is pretty much a given in the Skaven deck. Obviously some of the other cards will inspire my Skaven when I play them. This one will inspire 2 if I play it on 2 Skaven and swap them over. It's also useful to move one of my opponents into a position that I might want, or maybe swap a couple of them round into positions that they don't want. Next card I've got is Curious Inversion. I like the idea of this card. When you play it, the next attack action, hammers become swords, swords become hammers, dodges become shields, and shields become dodges. Or blocks become dodges, and dodges become blocks. I like the idea of this. I can keep hold of it until my opponent boosts up one of his guys, maybe Oberyn or Gerzag or something like that, really powers them up with a few cards, maybe even a Sayic, and it's obviously going to come after my leader. I can whack this down, and then my opponent's either got to go after it with a really half-hearted attack, which will really take down their offensiveness and boost my defensiveness, or they've then got to try and decide to do something else, and that'll help me in a few situations, maybe divert their attention a little. Next one I've got is Jewel of Wits. When my opponent plays a ploy, I can pick up 2 cards. That'll help me cycle through my deck. And the more cards I can get in my hand at once, then obviously the more chance I've got of getting a few cards out all in one go and help me with a little killer combination. Next one is Healing Potion. That one is obviously for Skritch or maybe Kirk, depending. But if I've got a Skaven who's a bit boosted up and is doing quite nicely, I might even play it on them, depending on what position they're in. Next card is Sidestep. The Skaven are pretty fast anyway, but it's always nice to have a free move every now and then, especially if you move into position at the end of a turn, and then you can quickly sidestep onto an objective, sidestep into your opponent's territory, or even attack with somebody and then sidestep them away again. Plus, it will boost one of my Skaven and inspire them. Next one I've gone for is Spoils of Battle. Play an upgrade without having to pay any glory. That one's a winner for me. It means if I can get that early on, I can play an upgrade quickly and then hopefully start the offense earlier. Or at the same time, if I'm getting a bit choked for glory, I'll be able to use this to help boost me up when I really need it. And the last one is Ready for Battle. Now, I love this card. I think this is the new must-have card. Use this card after you've upgraded somebody, and they can immediately make a move or attack. I would almost always use this for an attack and try and combine it with a attack first, upgrade at somebody, and then go in for that second attack. And hopefully get that 1-2 combination to take somebody out in one go, or if I can take somebody out on the first go, then use that to hopefully then attack somebody else and maybe take 2 out in one go. Some other cards that I had considered were Nervous Scrabbling, which is the Skaven version of Confusion, but you have to play it on one of your guys, and for that reason it was a bit more specific and not as good as Confusion. I did also consider Earthquake. I think a lot of people are going on about, oh, you've got to take Earthquake, but yeah, I'm going to skip it out for now. I just don't really think it's going to be that bad overall, especially as I'm not going for objectives too much. And I also left out Daylight Robbery. I love Daylight Robbery, but at the minute there are so many other cards that I want to take, I just couldn't find one that I wanted to get rid of to take it. I also liked the idea of Rebound, but such a chancy card. I know I don't mind taking the 50-50 cards, but that one's only a 1/3 chance. And whilst I love the idea of my opponent killing one of his own people with it, it's just a bit too unreliable for me at the moment. So those are my objectives and the ploys I'm going to use to hopefully get them. Once I've done that, I'm going to spend all that glorious glory on some upgrades. And the first upgrade that I've got in my list is Black Hunger. This is a card specific to the Hungering Skaven, but it means that he can attack and attack everybody in an adjacent hex, friend and foe, and does +1 damage, which is nice. Then I've got Bodyguard for a price. That can only be played on Kirk, but it means that when Skritch is next to him, Skritch is on guard, even if he's made a charge, which is very nice to have. It will keep Skritch nice and safe. Next one I picked up is Festering Blade. Now this one specifically goes on the Festering Skaven, but it means if his attack scores a crit, it does an extra 2 damage. So that means he rolls 3 dice anyway, which gives him a nearly 50% chance of getting a crit. This means his damage will then be 3, which actually makes him pretty nasty. I then picked up Skitterscurry, which I can play on Skritch or Kirk, depending on who's doing best at the time. I'll decide who I play that on. And it means that after an action, they can move 1 hex. That'd be handy to run in, hit somebody, and run away a bit again. Next one I've gone for is Time Trap. Now, this card might be a bit contentious at the minute, but I think the situations I'm going to use it in will mean that I won't have any problem. My intention is purely going to be to charge with one person, do an attack, and then somebody else attacking as well. Hopefully that'll help me get another 1-2 shot in there, maybe along with Ready for Action to get 3 attacks in one go, possibly even. I've then gone for Ethereal Shield. This will turn my defense characteristic into a shield. All of my guys roll dodges apart from Kirk, so this will help give one of my Skaven another boost, as they all roll 2 dice when they're inspired, and hopefully I can get more inspired fairly quickly. This means they'll be as tough as Stormcast. Then also gone for Great Fortitude and Great Strength, +1 wound, +1 strength. Both of those are always handy. And then I've gone for Hero Slayer. Now, I like the look of this card, and it's something which I'd probably give to the Hungering Skaven, so that he could run into combat, especially if I can get the Black Hunger on him, and then try and hit as many people around him as possible. The only problem with it is, it's only 1 hammer. It's only got a 50-50 chance of rolling success. If your opponent's got more than 1 defense dice, they've got a higher chance of blocking it. You've only got a 1 in 6 chance of getting a crit. But it does 4 damage. That could be absolutely devastating if you get a bit of luck. And, you know, what a Skaven without some random chance and luck there. So that's why Hero Slayer's in there. I've then got Legendary Swiftness, a +1 move. That will be to help me with the objective of cover ground. And then I've got, so that's my last card, Shadeglass Darts. I can't work out if I want to keep Shadeglass Darts in or not. I mean, I do like it. The range is handy and it can do 2 damage, which is nice. But maybe I'll swap it out for the Shadeglass Axe. The problem with the axe is it rolls 2 hammers rather than 3 swords. It does 2 damage though, and if you roll a crit, it'll do 3 damage. And you do have the 3 hex range on it, but if you miss with the 3 hex range, you are stucked and it's gone. So I don't know, it's maybe a bit... It's a gamble. It's just a gamble, that's all it is. But that will probably stay in there. If I'm going to take a card out of this deck to replace with anything, I might remove Time Trap and take Sprinter, or the other +1 move card. Purely to help improve my chances of getting one of them out so that I can get the cover ground objective. Other than that, I'm pretty happy with nearly all of this deck except for one of the objectives at the start, the Determined Defender one. But you know, we'll see how it goes for this match, and I might swap it out again afterwards. I may take these Skaven to the Grand Clash. I'm not 100% sure yet. I do like my Sepulchral Guard, but I do like Skaven. I've always had a soft spot for them. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how I find them in the match, and we'll just have to play things by ear, I guess. Anyway, let me know if you think what I'm talking about is a load of nonsense, or let me know if you think I've picked a killer combination. Always nice to hear from you guys. Bye!